we will get this started. Let's get this party started. Cheers. Thank you, everybody, for joining us for our virtual happy hour talk webinar. We wanted to just take a moment to talk about everything that's been going on and how the COVID-19 situation has really affected real estate, Alabama, and Spartan Invest just in general. So we wanted to take the opportunity to do that, and honestly, anytime that we can involve a glass of wine while doing that, we're going to take advantage. Guys, come on now. Amanda, what do you got over there? What are you drinking? You got you're beautiful.
There we go. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Have a glass of Cabernet, of course.
Very fancy. Very fancy.
This afternoon.
I'm not sure exactly where you're supposed to pour the wine to, but I seem to always exceed it. I don't know the rules, so just do whatever we can. So we want to kick this off first before we dive into any of the questions, and first say a huge thank you to all of the healthcare workers. Spartan Invest is based out of Birmingham, Alabama. But we've got Danny joining us in Georgia and Maureen joining us out in California. So just across the country, across the world, this has really, really affected everyone. And we just want to take the opportunity. I mean, since we're doing this webinar and having happy hour virtually, we realize we're trying to do our part in flattening the curve and maintaining the social distance. But we realize that there's no comparison to what all of the healthcare workers are out there doing right now. I mean, they are risking their health and safety for the well-being of others. And we just, as a team, company, we want to say thank you so much from the bottom of our heart, really. I mean, it's the least we could do. The best thing that we can do, and we know that, is to continue to stay at home and continue to work from home. But I mean, just to raise the glass, whatever, just a huge, huge thank you to all of you guys out there. So we really appreciate that. So why are we doing this? Obviously, over 3 weeks, we've been flooded by current investors, potential investors, tenants, just wanting information. What's going on? How is their rental property affected? How are they going to be able to pay their rent? What is going on? What do we do? What's our plan? And we always want to be a resource for you guys, especially in uncertain times. So we kind of pulled together all of the most common questions that we were fielding and address those to you guys. And after we talk about all of our common questions, then if there's any time left over, we'll make sure to get to any other questions that we didn't address. So first off, I've got the panel experts Spartan team right here. And I want to let them introduce themselves and what they're doing with what they do with Spartan. So Maureen, if you would kick that off for us.
Hey everyone. Hey Lindsay. Hey teammates. Hey everyone joining us on this virtual happy hour Sips with Spartan. We are just delighted to have you on here. Really excited to have this forum to just share what's going on, because we know you guys have questions. There's things going through your mind and you want answers. So we're here to deliver those answers for you. I am one of the co-founders with Miss Lindsay Jackson Davis. She thinks I'm crazy. This is only my first sip. I'm not even there yet, so give it time. But I'm the VP of sales. I'm just a good storyteller. I don't really do much. Lindsay and Clayton and the rest of the team, they kind of do it all, and I can just tell the story. So that's me. I'm Maureen, storyteller, coming at you live from San Diego, California. Welcome. I'm on still live. I'll keep talking. There you go.
Hey guys, I guess it's my turn. I see my face now. Thank you for being on with us. We appreciate it. And I know there's a lot of questions out there. My name is Danny Cole. I'm a sales consultant with Spartan. Much like Maureen, I'm the storyteller. Yeah, we're just really excited to be here. And I'm live from Georgia. As Lindsay said, you may be able to tell from my accent, but there's quite a few of us from the Southeast. But anyway, we do appreciate it and look forward to talking more.
I'm Taylor Esdale. I'm the closing coordinator here at Spartan Invest. Welcome and thank you for joining us. I am here to discuss any hiccups that we've experienced through the closing process, anything that I've heard from mobile notaries to your closing attorney and your lender. So thank you for joining, and sit back and have a glass with us.
Hey everybody, Scott Hildebrandt. I see a lot of familiar names and faces out there, so thank you guys all for joining us. I am one of the client services managers for Spartan Invest along with Amanda, and I communicate directly with our clients when they need things on the property management side of things. I've been with Spartan since 2016, so I've seen quite a bit, so I'm able to answer questions for all of our current and hopefully future clients.
Hey guys, I'm Amanda Ford. I'm our other client services manager. So I work with all of our investors and keeping them up to date with all of the need to know things regarding property management. So thanks for hanging out with us this afternoon, and we're excited to answer some questions that we've seen from our investors the past couple of weeks.
Awesome. So thanks, guys. So, the biggest question is what has been the effect? I don't think that there's been anyone that has not been affected in some capacity by COVID-19. And so, Maureen, if you could, let's just kick this off. Big picture, Birmingham, Huntsville, the state of Alabama. How has COVID-19, affected us and the overall state economy? You'll just kick us off there.
Yeah, I'll jump in there. Happy to. So, in times of crisis like this, it really does give you an opportunity to dive a little bit deeper, and it challenges you to understand your market, your business, your systems better. And, unfortunately, there are some industries that are really negatively impacted by the effects of COVID-19, your hospitality, your travel, your leisure industries. They're the ones that took the brunt first, really. And then you've got other industries that are thriving, that are doing really, really well. Your shipping, your trucking, your warehousing companies, your home delivery, your Amazon, your Instacart, your, what's the other one? I'm trying to remember. Shipped, right? Birmingham-based companies. So there's businesses that are really going to be negatively impacted. There's others that are going to be they're going to thrive, and there's other ones that are like kind of just in that middle. So the question is what's happening? You guys want to know what's going on with Birmingham, what's going on with Spartan. So, when you do, we were doing a deeper dive into the economy of Birmingham, and you know what? We're usually always on the bottom of the list for a lot of things in Birmingham. And I'm going to tell you, I love being on the bottom of this list that I'm about to tell you, which is Birmingham is more insulated to the effects of COVID-19 than exposed. Why? Right? Because the industries that are set up and based in Birmingham. So a lot of the industries right now that are thriving are some of the things that I've mentioned already, right? Shipping, trucking, distribution, healthcare. Our #1 business that drives our economy in Birmingham is healthcare. They're even doing some studies right now on COVID-19 patients at the University of Alabama, Birmingham. So it's a hotbed of activity on the healthcare side. And then on, people need groceries, they need things delivered to them. And so what's really encouraging, what's been kind of a relief, actually, I'm not gonna lie, because when this first thing happened, we all didn't know what the effects were gonna be. And some of the teammates are gonna get to like rent collection and things like that, because we just didn't really know what the effect overall on our market was gonna be. And luckily, because Birmingham, Huntsville's mostly aerospace engineering government contracts, that's still thriving. What's going on in Birmingham is we've got healthcare, manufacturing of all kinds of things, food being one of them too. And of course, we've got to feed America. So those industries are really thriving. And then you've got trade, utilities, transportation, hospitality and leisure are lower on the list. So luckily, I am just so grateful that the industries that comprise the overall GDP of Birmingham are really not that exposed to the effects of COVID-19. So that's what I got to say. What do you think?
Yeah, that's an excellent point. And we're, obviously we don't want anyone negatively affected, but Alabama has been one of the lowest states for unemployment claims, overall job loss, stuff like that. So I completely agree. Unfortunately, Alabama is typically at the bottom of the list in some categories, but hey, we are very, very happy and fortunate that we have a lot of industries that have not been as drastically affected. So Alabama Rental Property, which is the property management company of Spartan Invest, we have 1,200 rental properties, 450 current investor clients. Scott, you are talking to them every day, all day. They are wondering about their rental property, et cetera, et cetera. So what has been from the investor standpoint, the effect on the property management? How have the owners been affected?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, we all know that if your tenants, if businesses are closing and people are cutting hours because they're not able to operate exactly how they normally would, and we're not in a global pandemic, that could affect, rent payments. Fortunately, we'll touch on this a little bit later. We've not been affected nearly as much as we thought we would be. And something that we've talked about as a team on our other calls as this has kind of been evolving is that, to inject a little perspective in here is that you could really have a non-paying tenant at any time, right? You could have a temporarily non-performing house really at any time, whether there's a pandemic or not. You could have someone who's in eviction who lost their job anyway. You could have a vacant house for a month or two or something like that. So, when we recommend that people have reserves for their properties to kind of cover times like this is a perfect example. It's really unusual to obviously have a lot of them happening at one time, but fortunately we, again, like Maureen said, we've been pretty insulated. This has not been nearly as affected our tenants nearly as much as we thought it would, to our very pleasant surprise. And so again, that just kind of goes on to what our sales team does is try to recommend to be responsible and have a little bit of reserves there, because if we can get through these next 1 or 2 months, then it'll be what you prepared for, and we're already there for anyway. As far as how property management is running, we're all working from home. I'm joining you from my bed here because I do not have a home office, and I have a 4-month-old who's thankfully sleeping in the living room right now, so we're just trying to be quiet. But as far as that goes, we're operating totally normally, right? We're all working from home. We all have laptops. We're all set up. We have all the information that we would normally have at our office anyway. We are still doing payment distributions to all of our clients, just like we normally would. We are sending checks to people who need to get paper checks. So as far as how we're operating, we really haven't skipped a beat once we got set up at home. And things are a little different because we all got kids that were, doing homeschooling and stuff like that. But as far as that stuff goes, we are operating just as we would if we were from the office. So.
Yeah, that's true. And to all of those, unfortunately, the happy hour starting time, it seems to increase the longer we work from home and attempt to homeschool our kids. The happy hour time keeps creeping up. But no, it's 100% correct. Thanks, Scott, that we are working from home and trying to keep up business as usual and taking precautions as far as not going into occupied properties. But yes, as much as business as usual as possible. So like for the investors that didn't have that reserve set aside, the 5% or whatever amount based on how many rental properties they have, if they didn't have the reserve for the inevitable eviction or what have you, Danny, can you talk on what are some potential options for those investors who are facing mortgage payments and their tenants may have been laid off or furloughed. If you could just talk about what's available out there right now if you're owning rental property and you don't have the emergency reserve.
Absolutely. So one of the big things I've seen lately is the SBA loans. With the COVID-19, some of the parameters around this have changed. So one of the things is they have increased the amount. So there's $350 billion out there for small businesses, sole proprietors, different options. But there's a lot of options that you can apply this toward: rent, utilities, mortgage payments, and various things. There's also some parameters. There's some previously, I think it was SBA B or 7B, which was more of a disaster type loan. This, if someone has used this in the past, now this is going to be a very small amount of people, I would imagine, but they would not be eligible for the SBA 7A that's available now through COVID-19. But this is a great, great option for people to get back on their feet, to keep their employees going, to keep their businesses going overall if they've been hit, in a heavier manner. The other thing I hear people talk about, but I'm not so sure about, and I would recommend talking to your particular lender, is some people have mentioned a forbearance. Now, the idea of a forbearance sounds great. I can push my loan out, 4 or 5 payments to the end of my amortization period. But the reality is, in some cases, that pushes back 4 months, and then everything is due at one time. So please, I implore you to be careful with that. Talk to your particular lender. Don't really look at what the federal guideline on a particular subject is. I would look at your particular lender and have that direct conversation, because nobody wants to see you in a situation where, yes, you've been put off a payment for 4 or 5 months, but then, $4,000 or $5,000, $6,000 is due all at once. I'm sure Lindsay and the team, they can put up a few links for the SBA loans. But again, there's parameters. Some of the loan amounts are 250% of your monthly payroll, or 10 million, the lesser of the two. So it's just a good option. That's the best option I've seen thus far.
Yeah, and the option so the application process started this past Friday for the small businesses with employees, and then those who would probably be more of our investor clients, the individual independent contractor, if you have a K1, et cetera, the application process starts this Friday for you guys. Yes, and it goes through your bank, so please reach out to your lender, and we've got plenty of information regarding all of that for you guys. So the real estate world in general, obviously you're not supposed to be going into occupied properties, staying away from everyone, etc. And that's got to have some type of effect overall on the closing process. So Taylor, talk a little bit about what's been affected, what's changed in your day-to-day process, because I know you're trying to coordinate with home inspectors and appraisers and closing attorneys. So talk a little bit about that.
Absolutely. So the great part about the closing process is that you do not have to be have physical interaction with who you deal with on a day-to-day basis. Many lenders work from home, which hasn't stopped their process at all. Our closing attorneys that we work with here in Birmingham have all adapted to this change. Mobile notaries have adapted to the change, and Spartan, as we've all reiterated now, have adapted to the change. So everything with your closing process, for me to take care of you, I'm able to do from the comfort of my couch. So overall, from what I've gathered by talking to lenders throughout this process, and now it's going to be on a week-to-week basis, just checking in with them, seeing where they stand, seeing where these speed bumps are, is overall we're only looking at about a 7-day delay from the standard process pre-COVID. So overall, your loan shouldn't take more, or your turnkey property process with Spartan shouldn't take more than the standard time tacked on another 7 days. So overall, we are not seeing any change to the process, aside from whatever else can happen throughout it. But I am on top of them. I am there to take care of you. And if there's anything for me to be proactive rather than reactive through the process, I try to get ahead of that as much as possible. So closing world, not so much.
Well, so talk a little bit more about with the e-notaries though. I know prior to all of this, Alabama did not allow electronic notaries. And if you're talking about our mobile notaries, most of our closings are long distance anyway. So we are hiring mobile notaries. But talk a little bit about the change in that, because I know some big changes have happened here lately.
Yes. Oh my goodness. It's so exciting. So Alabama's in modern day times, and we now have e-notaries. So you can do a closing just like how we are doing this webinar on Zoom. So you would have to have all your documents prepared. You'd have to have your license. You'd have to have everything proving that you are you. And you could sign from the comfort of wherever in your home that you'd want to do it without having an outsider come into your home. So that is incredible. And they expedited that process once COVID started really, really hitting Alabama or coming into our territories. So for them to expedite that in order for the real estate community to continue to thrive has been incredible. And on a side note, if you are more keen to a traditional closing, all the mobile notary companies that our closing attorneys work with require a temperature check every day. They require masks and gloves upon entering your home. And that is only if you are comfortable letting an outsider enter your home. So we are working for you on that, and the real estate community is working for you on that as well. So exciting times in a horrible time. There's no better way to put it.
Right. Well, I mean, I guess, the passive e-notaries, that's again, Alabama coming on up, but I completely agree in that it was a needed change, but unfortunately the circumstances that brought it are definitely not ideal. But how are you handling appraisals right now?
Appraisals, so on a typical Spartan day is that I go out to every single appraisal. And that is just for me to have face-to-face interaction with the appraiser that is appraising your home. It's for me to be the third set of eyes on your property. In this event right now is that we are just allowing the appraiser to enter the home by themselves, or we have one of our construction supervisors go out to meet the appraiser at the property. The appraiser contacts me as normal. They call, text, email, whatever their preferred method is. We schedule a date and I put it on my construction team's calendar. If they are in the area and they are able to go meet out the appraiser, they're more than welcome to. Or if the appraiser isn't comfortable interacting with somebody else, another human, then they're able to appraise the property without anybody being there. I still send them the scopes of work, that all the renovations that have been done to the property. Overall, I think it's just a smooth process. There's nothing bad happening in the closing world. It's no news is good news has been my motto through all of the past couple of weeks.
So, a lot of people have been talking about the interest rates, and, Maureen did an interview that you can check out on our website with Aaron Chapman, and he really dives into the difference in interest rates. You talk about in a slower economy, or like the 2008 recession, oh man, I wish with the interest rates as low as they are, I should have bought. It's, cheap money. So Danny, talk a little bit about the interest rates, because they're fluctuating every day. We're seeing the stock market as New York is going down. New Orleans, we've seen trending on a downward spiral. We've seen the market increase a little bit and stuff. So that all affects the interest rate. So talk a little bit about the interest rates. What should you do? Kind of speak to that a little bit, if you don't mind.
Sure. It's a question I get every day, honestly. People asking, are they going up? Are they going down? And I'm not a lender, of course. I watch the mortgage-backed securities and I have my best guesses as well. I mean, there's been a lot of volatility, as you mentioned, to the mortgage rates. The big thing to remember now is I think it's human nature, honestly. People, if you see, let's just say, make up a few numbers. If you see 4.5% today or 4%, and it has historically always been 4 3/4. Well, if it only happened for 10 minutes, your mind thinks, well, it might go lower. It just might, you know, you never know. Even though it only happened for 10 minutes, it was a spike, it was an anomaly, if you will. But the key thing to remember right now is no matter from high point to low point, the mortgage rates that we're experiencing are historically low. They're historically amazing. It's just good all the way around. Now, I understand that a mortgage interest rate does affect the cash flow. I get that. But you've also got to look, and you mentioned Aaron's call with Maureen, when you look at the deductions you have with the interest and you look at the overall income, and let's just say it's a $40 difference. That $40 difference turns into a much smaller number, a fraction of that, that cash that you thought you were losing due to those deductions, et cetera. So I want to look at that, not just one part of the picture, but the whole picture. And also, please don't forget that throughout this process, I invest in real estate because I want to leave my children something. I want to create a pension. I want long-term wealth. And I believe I agree with the stockbrokers on one very particular thing, and that's just that I don't believe you can time the market perfectly. And the same thing with interest rates. While you may have been 1/4 of a point lower, yeah, that's great. But you're also, the money on the sidelines now, and especially now, is making you nothing, less than nothing. So that money sitting in the bank is an opportunity cost that you could have invested, had appreciation, had cash flow, had depreciation, using the great factor of inflation with real estate and so many other things. But always vet the numbers, make it make sense. But please don't get caught up in paralysis by analysis by 1/4 of an interest point or interest rate. It's simply not worth it. But yeah, while it matters, you've got to look at the full picture, is my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, that's an excellent point, and that a lot of investors will sit there and try to watch it just to time it perfect. And it's like, oh, I think I'll wait. Just you know, a little bit more. So you mentioned this, and it's a really good point as far as overall real estate investment. And obviously, one of the huge perks of real estate investment is the consistent cash flow. There's not a lot of investments that you can see a month-over-month cash flow. Well, you know, even though that's not even close to being the only benefit to real estate investing, it's obvious, it's an obvious one. So what drives the cash flow? Obviously, it's the tenants. And, you know, how has this affected, you know, our tenant base, and how has that affected the investor cash flow? And Amanda, I mean, you're same as Scott, you're talking to investors every single day, all day long. You're processing their rent checks and looking at their portal. Talk about, we're finally at that pivotal moment after the first of the month where we can kind of gauge how it's going to affect that. Talk a little bit about, you know, the rent that's been collected and how that's been affecting our investors.
Yeah, absolutely. That's definitely been the number one question, I think, throughout all of this. Is the rent going to come through? And right now, we have not been affected as much as we thought we might. We are at 95.6% occupancy right now for all of our properties. And as of today, we already have 70% of the rent collected for April, which is huge. And that is not including some of the funding that we have coming in from our Section 8 office in Birmingham. So once that does come through, we're looking at 82% collected right now. And if you'll go back with me to December of 2019, at this time of the month, then we had only had 31% of rent collected. So I think a lot of the incentives that we are putting in through Spartan and ARP and giving these tenants opportunities to, you know, save $75 by paying earlier on time has really made a difference and really encouraged them to go in and get their payments tenants in as soon as possible. Because, you know, we really weren't certain what was going to happen, but we're really thankful that this hasn't made a big difference as far as rent coming in. And just touching a little bit more, as I mentioned with Section 8, we do have a lot of properties right now that are being tenanted by Section 8 tenants. And I know working with our investors, a lot of them have had some, you know, insecurities, I guess, and not wanting to participate in that or being able to accept Section 8 tenants. But now is definitely the time to be able to do that because that is guaranteed income that's coming in every month. That's not going to be affected. You're not going to lose those months of payment. So if your house is being leased currently and you have someone interested in Section 8, I highly recommend allowing you to move in and seeing that guaranteed income coming in monthly.
I mean, that's phenomenal. I mean, this is the best time, obviously, for rent collection in general, because a lot of people have received tax income. So, you know, the leasing is up, and rent collection just historically, March, April, May, year over year, that's when people use their tax refund to get caught up on rent. So we've seen, you know, that comparison to December, obviously, but I mean, that's huge. 82% collected. It's wow. I mean, that's crazy. As far as the leasing process though, or how is Alabama Rental Property still continuing to show properties?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have on a normal day 6 full-time leasing agents with us who are always out in the field showing houses. Unfortunately, because of the stay-at-home order with the city of Birmingham and the state of Alabama, they're not able to go into the houses at this time. So we're very lucky that we have what we call e-boxes, which are essentially self-showing lock boxes where the tenant or customer can get a one-time code to go in and view the property on their own. So our agents are still constantly on the phone with them, getting their feedback on what they thought you know, the house was like and if they're interested. So we're really happy that we have that necessity where they can go in and see the houses. Before this all took place, you know, we were leasing on average about 30 houses a week. Our leasing numbers were fantastic. We weren't really sure how those were going to turn out in the past couple of weeks, but last week we ended the week with 20 deposits, and we're well on our way to doing that again this week. So people are still out there. They're still ready to move into new houses. So our leasing team has been on fire and completely busy every day. So we're still leasing. We still have people going out and seeing our properties.
Yeah, and still from the comfort of their home with those electronic lock boxes, we've allowed tenants to view the properties with no interaction. So I mean, that's really been huge in not slowing people down with, you know, the capability of moving. So for the tenants that, I mean, obviously anybody in the hospitality, the restaurant industry, et cetera, has been hurt the worst. And we want to make sure that we are working historically a good tenant that has been affected by this. We're not going to be stern, charge late fees, evict, or even start the eviction process. Even that's been pushed back. So Scott, can you talk about the property management? So for those tenants that have been affected, what Alabama Rental Property is doing to work with those specific tenants?
Yeah, absolutely. So first, I want to shout out a lot of our clients. You know, and you know who you are. This is a time for humanity, and some of our clients have really already reached out proactively and said they wanted to either waive rent or half rent or whatever, and things like that. And that just, it blows us away. Like that is, it's just some of the kindest, you know, actions we've ever seen, I think, in real estate investment world. And we know it's not possible for everyone. It's not the expectation, but I do want to recognize those people. But you did touch on the $75 discount that we did for our tenants this month. I think that everybody could use an extra $75. You know, you've got kids at home now that, you know, you need to feed them lunch. They were getting lunch at school and stuff. So that was one part of it, the compassionate aspect of it. The other aspect of it was to incentivize getting that rent in as soon as we possibly could. And as like Amanda was saying, you know, this time of the month to have 70% of the rent in, that's higher than usual. So obviously those kind of initiatives pay off. Now, when it comes to tenants who are affected, and we do have some, fortunately not nearly as many as any of us thought that we were going to have, we have very open lines of communication with everybody. I mean, we think this is a time for some compassion and humanity. We don't have a whole lot of recourse because we can't evict right now, and we don't want to because we know everybody's in a tough spot. So, outside of the $75 discount, we are waiving late fees. We are accepting partial payments. So if they're able to, pay half a rent or quarter a rent, and we work with them through the next couple of months as we, get in what we can till they either get a new job, or if they get their stimulus checks or file for unemployment. Those things can take some time, but we know that they're going to come. And the fact that our tenants are communicating with us, on the front end and letting us know, hey, I lost my job, or my husband lost their job, or my wife lost her job, or my kids are home and I can't go to work anymore. There's so many different situations. We're going to work with those tenants on a case-by-case basis. And then we're going to get them set up on payment plans going forward, and work with our owners too, to work out what's going to work out best for everybody, because the owners, our clients are going to want one thing, and our tenants are only going to be able to do something else. So we're going to have to find some middle ground of what works for everybody. And, what I like to remind our clients of is that our clients are our customers, Spartan's customers, but the tenants are our clients' customers, and our customers too. But you have, these are strange times, man. This is weird stuff. So we're going to have to come up with some new ideas and work with the tenants in the most humane possible way to get them, caught up, because they don't want to leave their house, and they don't want to be kicked out either. So we're going to be working with everybody really on a case-by-case basis. And for all of our clients out there, when that time comes, when things become more clear, the situation becomes more clear as to what we need to do, Amanda and I will be reaching out to you and kind of coming to you with what options we have.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great point too, with the investor clients, that a lot of them proactively reached out to us. That's one thing that real estate has that completely separates itself from a lot of other investments, is the human factor. And we had a lot of investors that reached out proactively and said, waive the rent for April, May, and that's huge. That really, really speaks to the kind of a lot of the kind of investors that we have. So thank you so much. That's it. And I wish that you were a part of the conversation when we shared that with the tenants, and their reaction. I wish you could have experienced the joy with that, because through all of this, there is that level of compassion that we do need to have. It doesn't change real estate's level of value or anything like that. It just allows for for us to help each other. So that was great. Thank you so much for all the investors that did that. That truly meant a lot. So from the potential investors, Maureen and Danny, I know you guys talk a lot. We sell rental properties to investor clients all over the world, and you guys get so many questions as far as, when should I buy? Should I wait? Interest rates? I want to hold my money. And that's completely understandable, wanting to hold funds to venture into the unknown. We completely understand that. But Maureen, you've been doing this for a really long time. I want to know what you think. Should investors still buy right now?
Let the old lady talk. Let me. I have been around a long time, and thank God I should invest in like L'Oreal hairspray, because they like cover up all the gray hair right now because my salon's closed. The question is, should you buy right now? And so, I went through 2008, 2009. I actually started selling turnkey rental properties during that time. So I have that experience to apply to this experience. And I think that's really relevant. At least I'm a guiding post to say, hey, here is what I saw happen. And you have to, the investor has to identify what bucket they fall into, right? I recognized in 2008, 2009, when the media, by the way, it's not like, it's very similar today. The media is just, and it's not to underestimate the relevance of what is happening. It's tragic. There are lives being lost. this virus is, and this nasty pathogen is, it's is it indiscriminatory or non-discriminatory? Whatever it is. It doesn't discriminate against age, race, religion, country of origin. It doesn't matter. So, but the thing is that the media is creating this environment of fear. And then you have, and that helped, and I kind of found myself getting in that thing too. I had to stop watching as much news because I was thinking, oh my gosh, doom and gloom. Well, you guys, I saw the same thing happen in 2008, 2009, and the media was like, the sky is falling, the economy's bust, it's all horrible. And yet the phone was ringing like crazy with investors recognizing the opportunity to invest in real estate at that time. Cents on the dollar was super cheap money. They recognized the benefit of hard assets. That has not changed from 2008 to present day. There is still a lot of ways that real estate hard assets pay an investor. An investor earns in multiple ways, 5 ways that I can count foundationally, and then there's more on top of that. But the 3 buckets that I have found that investors fall in, they fall into the do-nothingers, and these are typically the people that are living too much on the edge. Something happens like this and they contract and they want to hold on to everything. They're afraid of losing anything, and they let fear guide their thinking. Then you have the second bucket of investors, or people really, I should say, are the wait and seers. I'm just going to sit back, I'm going to wait and see what happens, and then I'll decide when I should jump into the market. And we've had a few investors that, these were relatively new investors. They put things under contract within a week or two, and then they dropped them because they're basically, the conversation was, I just want to wait and see. I want to wait and see what happens to the economy, etc. So again, I'm going to talk to them too a little bit about what I think is reasonable to do. And then you've got your action takers. There's the third bucket, which is the people that recognize the opportunity, they're capitalizing on the cheap money, they're jumping into the hard assets. And there's something that I'm going to tell you guys at the very end of this call, so you do not want to leave, because it is the game changer. It is the game changer for real estate. It is the reason why your do-nothingers, if you have capital, or if you're wait and seers, you've got capital, and the action takers, they already got it. They've got capital, they're jumping in. There's no reason why, after you learn this little information, that you will all jump in, I promise you, and you will want to double down. So to give you an example, so you can kind of see the wall behind me. These are the properties that we have available. The blank spots, if I can kind of point, that's kind of hard to do when they're behind you and you've been drinking. But the blank spots, they're the properties that have sold. And then the ones with the little yellow Post-it notes, those are investors that are talking about buying those properties. So they're my action takers. These are my action takers and my wait and seers. They're still kind of on the sidelines figuring out what to do. So the question is it a good time to buy? Well, I can just put the question back to the investor. Is money cheap? Is 30-year money going to outlast this pandemic? So you lock in now for the benefit of the next 30 years. Will you earn appreciation? Do properties, do values, or does real estate go to zero? No, not in my lifetime. I guess anything is possible, because I didn't think a pandemic was possible in my lifetime. So I guess I could say anything is possible, but it's very unlikely because there's been no history of that. You get the benefit of depreciation, so you save your money on taxes. There's a great hedge against inflation. So here is my advice. Taking 2008 and applying it here today is, if you've got capital sitting on the sideline earning you nothing, earning you zero, earning you less than 6%, it would behoove you to take that capital, invest it in a vehicle that has a tried and true history of increasing in value, giving you cash flow. You get the tax benefits of a lot of things through depreciation and 1031 exchanges and things like that. It's a great hedge against inflation, because guess what? Listen, look what's going on. You've got there's so much money being printed. It's being fused in our monetary system. What does that do to the dollar? It devalues the dollar, and inflation rises, right? So let's say you have inflation is 6% over the next 12 months, and you've got an asset that appreciates I've seen 5 to 10% in Birmingham over the last 24 months, right? So that's just the one part. So that appreciation is beating the inflation that we're seeing, because that's essentially what's going to happen as more money is pumped into the monetary system. The value will be the value of the dollar is devalued, and your housing values will increase. It's a great hedge against that inflation. So let's see if I can summarize all that, because I know as a salesperson, I talk a lot and I can go in circles. So let me just sort of bring this all home, right? Is it a good time to buy? Warren Buffett, it had been very well known and publicized that he had taken a lot of money, a lot of cash, and he had it sitting on the sidelines. He was waiting for the opportunity to be able to utilize that cash to capitalize on something that he knew was coming. We didn't know, we knew it was coming, we just didn't know when or what was going to cause it, right? And so this COVID-19 sort of compressed everything and happened really super fast. And if you're an investor, whether you are a do-nothinger and you've got some capital, you're a wait-and-seer and you've got some capital, or you're an action taker and you've got some capital, it is in my experience that those people, those investors in 2008, 2009, when they invested, they don't have any regrets today, because their portfolio, the value of the portfolios have increased. They've been able to collect the cash flow. They've been able to use the depreciation or the benefit of depreciation to lower their tax liability. And then their values, their properties increased in value. So they created wealth at a time where fear was sort of the mainstream media's like attention headline. Let's use that to scare everybody. I would say don't listen to that. Really listen to the understand the fundamentals. And real estate in the last 3 out of the 5 recessions showed the values increased 1.9 to 4.8%. So real estate is not necessarily recession proof, but it has definitely proven to be recession resistant. And the fundamentals of the economy coming into this COVID-19 were super strong. You know, most recessions are set up by some system failing, like whether it's banking or finance or some fraud or something that triggers this whole like economic meltdown. We didn't have any of that. There was nothing preceding the situation that we're in right now, this recession, other than this unknown force that just wham came out of nowhere. So the fundamentals are still there. The opportunity is right now to capitalize on cheap money with tried and true hard assets that produce cash flow, give you appreciation, depreciation, and a great hedge against inflation. So that's my 2 cents. That's what I'm sticking to. You guys can take it or leave it. I hope you take it, because our core competency within this organization, everyone on this panel, and everyone that's not on this panel that works behind the scenes to support our investors, the core competency has always been deliver a profitable asset that cash flows on a monthly basis to our investors. We're wealth builders, and we do it through single family rental properties, and that has not changed. Regardless, before COVID, after COVID, during COVID, it has not changed.
Man, I'm telling you, we know who the salesperson is, and 2, we're not going to allow Maureen any more wine if she's talking about her gray hairs on live. So.
Oh, that was live? Oh, that's horribly embarrassing.
But no, so that was awesome. Thank you so much for that. We've gotten a good bit of questions, you know, through the Zoom and on Facebook. But, you know, some of them we were able to address, and if we weren't able to, we'll make sure that somebody reaches out to you directly. There was one question that I did want to address. This is a question I'll take, and talking about our Spartan uniforms, do we wear them at home? And we'll be 100% transparent. This is just for you guys. You know, working from home, I'm pretty sure most people are in PJs most of the time. I'm wearing leggings, which I don't ever wear to the office. So we're wearing our uniforms just for you guys. But just to reiterate what Maureen was saying is that at the end of the day, the single family homes, people will always always need a place to live. So that is one consistent, one constant thing, no matter what's going on out there in the world and the economy and the market, et cetera, et cetera. So thank you guys so much. I'm going to give the team the opportunity to say thank you and goodbye. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We really, really appreciate it. Again, thank you again to all of our healthcare workers out there. Thank you to all of our investors who have been so patient with our team and dealing with us through this unknown. And anybody who is in the closing process, kind of maneuvering through those changes, we just really appreciate it. We are here for any additional questions. You can visit us online and you can email us at info@spartaninvest.com. If you're looking to buy, you may be in contact with Maureen and Danny, or if you're a current investor, obviously Amanda and Scott. But I want to give you guys the opportunity to say thanks and say bye. Maureen, if you'll kickstart us there.
I will, but I do have one question, Lindsay, because I did sort of tee up everybody, like I've got this big reveal and I haven't revealed it yet. So should I wait for another call? Should we make them wait and hook them for another one? What do you think? I think maybe we should make them wait. What do you think?
I'm gonna let you decide that one.
Well, I feel like if I was told to wait on the call and I waited the whole time and then you get to the end and you say, "Oh, sorry, I'm going to do it on the next one," I would not be happy with you.
Go ahead. You're fine.
And I apologize because yes, the salesperson can talk a lot. So I will try to condense this. You know, I think the average woman in the world uses 10,000 words a day and men use 3. It's amazing that we even get to communicate at all. So I'm really going to try to shorten this, like super short, but I think it's really, really important. I wanted to share this with you guys because this is the game changer. And a friend of mine said, I thought this was really interesting. He said, politicians always say, don't ever let a good crisis go to waste. And they did it. When they actually put this CARES Act together, this bill together, there was something in there in the 880 pages. There's one little line that affects all real estate investors. And you guys, this is big, right? Because the way that you build wealth is through acquiring assets that cash flow. You use the tools of debt and amortization to build wealth through that acquisition. Compound interest is another one. It takes too long for me. I'm impatient with that. And then the last one, another big way to create wealth is to reduce your tax liability. And the biggest expense that we have in all of our lives, all of us on this call, is the taxes that we pay. And if there is a way that you could buy more real estate and save yourself more money, would you do it? And so here's the big reveal. I wish we had a drum roll. Is this. I'm going to give you a little context first. 1970s, 80s, there was a rule that you could actually take your depreciation deduction off of your real estate and offset it against your ordinary income. That was changed, and that tax code was excluded when President Reagan took over. That was the first thing he did, day one. He signed that exception out of the tax code. Guess what's back in the tax code? Oh my God. What's back in the tax code, you guys, is that you can now take your depreciation of your real estate holdings, your investments, commercial, residential, and you can now take that depreciation and offset it from your ordinary income. That means you put more money back in your pocket by more real estate that you own. So in the 70s and 80s, high-paid professionals, doctors, lawyers, etc., they didn't pay any taxes because they were able to take all of the deduction of the depreciation against their holdings and apply it to their ordinary income. And that is what is happening. It has happened within this bill. And I am telling you, I called Lindsay because I was like, oh my God, you're never gonna believe it happened. It's super exciting. And so this, when you ask the question, is it a good time to buy rental properties or real estate, commercial, residential? My answer is an emphatic heck yes, it is. And because of that depreciation benefit, that is now there. So with that, I have been asked to say goodbye. So I will raise my glass to all.
Is that just 2020? Do you know?
Don't know that yet. So I'll get the line where it is on the bill. I'll make sure that we get it out to everybody. So it's a trust but verify. I get it. I know you guys trust me, but I have been drinking, so we have to verify the information that I'm sharing. I'm going to make sure that happens. But we'll make sure you guys have the information that you need, so that if this is something, if you do want to reduce your taxes and you do want to increase your net wealth or net worth but through owning rental properties, we can make this happen for you. We'll get you the information that you need. So you're guided, and you're probably going to have to guide your CPA through this too. A lot of them don't know this yet. So it's going to be a lot of us giving you guys the information so that you can go educate your team, your attorneys, your wealth strategists, and your CPAs to help you guys capitalize on this very monumentally huge, big, enormous opportunity. Do I just say goodbye now?
Yes, you bye.
Okay. All right. So you guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I know that this is a crazy time. It's a weird time. It's an unusual time. It's an unprecedented time. But it's also a time where you're looking for answers for some certainty. And luckily, we're just positioned in a place where Birmingham is more insulated. We have systems and processes that have been tried and true for the last 6 years. We've been delivering cash flow to investors, 450 of them, over the last 6 years. They put their capital in our system works. It's working for them. It's going to continue working. It's only going to work better now at this point with some additional benefits that we have through that depreciation, ordinary income. Don't forget that. So love you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in, for being here, for being investors with us. Love to your family, friends, health and wealth, to all of you. Thank you so much. Peace. Ciao. Bye.
Danny, take it away.
Hold on.
Thank you everyone for tuning in. I appreciate your time. Thank you to our current investors. Thank you for our potential investors. You want more transparent answers, just call us. We're happy to help in any way we can. That's what it's about. Just let you know the information. It is, as bad as I hate this phrase, it is what it is. And we will work through that system. So thank you. Thank you to all the health professionals. If any of you are on the call, just thank you, thank you, thank you. I appreciate everything you're going through every day. I know it's a battleground out there, and I know certain districts are being hit harder than others. So just again, thank you. I know it's a sacrifice to you and your families. Appreciate you tuning in, and until next time.
Thank you all so much for joining us today. This has been an incredible first Sips with Spartan. I want to thank all our healthcare providers, going to piggyback off Danny here, and any healthcare provider who has joined us on this call. Thank you from the bottom of my heart and on the behalf of Spartan's heart. If you are a current investor with me and if you have any questions, please reach out. If not, I look forward to working with you here soon. Bye, all.
Thanks everybody for joining us. This has been, I say this a lot around the office, but what a time to be alive, right? We are in the middle of a global pandemic, but we're all able to get together on using technology like this, and that's awesome. I've been saying this to a lot of our clients, take care of yourself physically and mentally. It can be a lot to be home, and if anybody's home alone, just, hey, give me a call, we'll chat, whether about real estate or not. So, take good care of yourself. We're going to get through this. It's going to be all right. Keep your chin up. I would cheers everybody, but I ran out of beer a long time ago. I'm going to get another one. And then if anybody knows how to cut your own hair, I can use tips. I needed one about 3 weeks ago. So please send them if you got them. Have a great evening, everybody.
Thanks, guys, so much for joining us. I did want to address one question we got on Facebook to Scott. What's up with the 80 stash? So the stash has been here a while, and I don't think it's going anywhere anytime soon. So I'm glad you all got to see that. But in all seriousness, thank you so much to all of our healthcare providers and workers, and thanks to our investors for being patient with us on getting back to each of you individually. So reach out to me or Scott with any questions you have regarding your portfolios, and we're excited to come out on the end of this on the better side.
Thank you guys so much for that. That was fantastic. I appreciate that. But I'm piggybacking on everything that they said. And, you know, Scott brought up a great point with the stash. Please make sure you're taking care of yourself. You know, being at home can be very difficult. So to our healthcare providers, to everyone listening, to all of our investors, our tenants, thank you so much. We really appreciate it, and we cannot wait to see you guys in person again. So thank you so much for joining. We really appreciate it. Bye.